Well, here we are, guys, with the all-new Volkswagen Golf 8. We will tell you all you need to know about this new generation in exterior, interior, features, and of course the driving experience here today on Autogefuehl, your number one resource for in-depth car reviews and your number one community to discuss cars. With Thomas and everything, as you know, in full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go! Here in the front you can see, yes, it's still a Golf, but they somehow design-wise turned the headlamps upside down. It looks a little bit like that, so there's different shape for the headlamps now. And it looks a little bit wider and, bigger stance on the road and so on. Also those accentuations on the hood have been strengthened. Again, I think it's just a matter of taste if you like the outgoing model more or this more. Just tell me in the comments, please. It starts now with LED headlamps as standard. Then we also have, as standard, also a nice daytime running light as well. And optionally, you can get those IQ lights, they call it. That's just a brand name. And then it's a matrix LED, 2x22 LEDs. And then they also have an elaborated high beam function. And in this high trim, you also get, and I'm getting the key, so this cascading turning indicator light, then both for the front and for the rear. Do you like that one? And by the way, one thing also automotive strategic wise, they more and more, all manufacturers add features now which you can just get later on, but they're already built in the car. This, for example, also for those adaptive high beam lights, that it's coming automatically when the high beam goes on and off. So it's always in the car, but you have to buy it, or you can buy it later. And you could say that's on the one hand fooling the customer. On the other hand, and that would be the advantage, if the first customer doesn't go for it, it doesn't want to spend the money, but the next customer, used car customer, wants to go for it, you still can. So, pro and con definitely, but I think when you have something in the car that is built in the car, why don't you unlock it for the customer? Money, yeah. 4.28 meters, 14'4", or 168 inches is the length of the new Golf. Well, it's about 3 centimeters longer than before, but that's not a massive change chassis-wise. It's just a little bit spoilers and so on. Also the same wheelbase, so they have actually remained those dimensions of the car. And yeah, quite often cars grow and grow and grow. In this case, they didn't go for it, and I think it also, wouldn't have made any sense. You would start with 15-inch steel wheels, so the cheapest variant, then goes 16 aluminum, 17, 18. Those ones are the 18-inch wheels. And you, for example, also get it standard in the R line. This one is the so-called style trim level, so a mid-trim level, and then you can add some options. You can already get also then optional 19-inch wheels. Those would be the biggest ones so far. Probably rather, later with the GTI and the R, those versions will also be available then. Then it's a typical Golf styling, of course, always with this very strong C-pillar right here. And hasn't done so much here in the side profile. There are some aerodynamic changes, for example. It's more aerodynamic than before. And this one here, the central dropping line, in line with the door handles. Here in the rear we see a typical Golf shape. This is the Golf hatch, so to say. And you can see here the tail lamps, they have a new design, and there when we open and close the vehicle, and we can also see those cascading turning indicators right there. Still a very elegant design. There's a bigger Golf lettering there, and also seen also in the front this retro style new Volkswagen logo, which the Golf is also getting there. And in the lower part, I'm not sure if we can argue that this is a fake exhaust graphic. I mean, it's just a chrome frame, so to say. I think it suggests something like an exhaust, but is it a real fake exhaust? I think we can argue about that in the comments. The real exhaust is of course underneath, but overall I think they found a very clean design here in the rear. And technology wise, what's also interesting, this car will be able of car-to-X communications, so it can actually then share information it receives, for example, about like cars. One car is seeing like, oh, there's an accident, and then the information is being transported somewhere else to servers and so on, and then other cars can profit from that. So this will be something that will be very relevant in the future technology-wise. Well, there won't be so many situations where you will open the hood yourself, but when you do, when you buy a Golf, you want hydraulic struts, and you don't have that here. This new generation does not feature hydraulic struts. You shouldn't do that, Volkswagen. Sorry. Maybe I'm nitpicking here, maybe some don't care, but I think even if it's not the most useful feature overall, when you buy a Golf, you expect to have that. Yeah. But what about the engines? So the horsepower variety will be about 90 to about 300 horsepower. We'll see how much horsepower the GTI and the R versions will get in this generation. And then you will have turbo petrol engine, TSI. You will have the eTSI MHEV, so the turbo petrol engine with the mild hybrid systems. You will have PHEV, so plug-in hybrid vehicles. Then you will have the TDI, turbo diesels, and CNG. So different variety of engine styles. And horsepower figures now: TSI 90 or 110 in a 3-cylinder 1 liter, or 4-cylinder 1.5 liter, 130 or 150. The latter one you see here. So this one is the 1.5 TSI with 150 horsepower. And besides the 90 horsepower version, all others, so 110, 130, 150, if you go with those ones in the DSG dual clutch transmission, then you automatically get the MHEV for that, the mild hybrid systems, like we have today. Then the 2-liter TDI, 115 or 150 horsepower, the latter one with all-wheel drive possible. PHEV will be called e-hybrid. It will be a 1.4 TSI with 204 horsepower, or in the GTE with 245 horsepower, now featuring a 30 kilowatt-hour battery. There will be the GTI, the GTD, and the R with later announced horsepower figures, and the TGI, that's the CNG one, with 130 horsepower. So what else is new? There will be a new DSG shifting lever we're soon going to show you, and that one will feature a shift-by-wire system, so complete without any mechanical link. That is, for example, you can go faster, like when you switch from normal drive mode to reverse and back again and so on, and you can't make so many mistakes doing that. That's, for example, an interesting function, and it saves some space on the interior. We'll soon take a look at the at those. So wait a minute, there's one engine variant missing. That's the e-Golf. Yeah, that's gone now. Man, it was a pretty cool car, but not too big in the range. So they say that this one here with the combustion engine and with the PHEV, and when you go all electric, then you should buy the ID.3, the all-electric vehicle on this all-electric platform, because that is a standard platform, and the ID.3 is using the advantages of the all-electric platform. You can also compare that review in a static way already here at Autogefuehl. This is a new slim car key. Here we go, open and close, but also with keyless entry, of course, if you pick that option here when putting your hand on the outside. I'm not sure why they left the holder for the like emergency. You can always put out like the real, key here on the side, and you can use this one, but usually you don't need that. So, and then here on the inside, and then also the mirrors automatic flip up and down. And actually, seeing that, it goes really very, very close to the car. That's really good when parking. So that's, very much aligned with the vehicle. So that's cool. Then inside of the doors, in the front, we do still have soft touch here. It's not super, super soft, but it's definitely soft enough. So that's good build quality. Then we have this aluminum look. I would say it's not really aluminum, but it's look. And then this is fabric here, pretty much known. Also, those buttons are from the old generation, and a very big door pocket still. Then there is this all-new dashboard. Soon also more to the screens. There will always be this virtual cockpit, no analog gauges left, always digital. There will be 2 different trims of those. In Germany, we'll ultimately get the one we see here with the elaborated functions. Soon more details to that. There's a new steering wheel introduced with the T-Cross. It looks a little bit more like tech-alike, a little bit more modern. Left side here for the cruise control, for example. Right side to control the digital instruments, and with a flat bottom. Then there are new seats. Fabric seats will be base. Different materials and seat choices will be available. Those ones here are the Ergo Active seats, so special comfortable ergonomic seat, and in this case also with Alcantara on the inside and some fabric on the outside. Perfect material, really good, and it looks also fancy with this quilting. You can make the seating area a little bit longer and some different electric controls, and they look actually good. But are they also feeling good? So let's get inside, and you have the typical Golf feeling, yes. The only thing you feel immediately, like room-wise, here you have this additional window in the front. It's a very small one here at the door, and you also see that somehow from the inside, and you can see also how it's cut out here from the door. And this is, making more an appearance of that the cockpit seems to be a little bit longer, but just slightly. And well, those seats are really very comfortable, and to me one of the big upgrades for this vehicle. So to go for this as an option might be a clever choice, because it makes the car feel more elaborate. It makes the car feel like at least half a segment higher above, and that is a significant change. Then those are also electric controls with the 2 memory seat function, pretty cool. And again, this lower area can be made a little bit longer than for tall people, and they give you decent side support. Also good as for the climate features, so they stay warm in winter and also cool in summer. So this is really one of the, probably it's the best choice for this new car. Therefore, they also put it here on the event, and I'm really glad that for once they didn't put the all animal skin seat in a driving event here. So then here the steering wheel can be put up and down, and also inward and out. Yeah, it's not like better do it with 2 hands, not with one on the microphone, but it's really very windy as today, so you would very much profiting from this huge microphone, I can tell you. And it's a very nice seating position. Yes, it's also giving you, again, this is a Golf feeling. Here, with the central console land towards you a little bit, but again, it feels a little bit more sophisticated and definitely more tech-alike with all this new infotainment system stuff. At the moment, most of the stuff is black, but soon we will give you all the full glory of that. By the way, we also have the optional Harman Kardon sound system, then with 10 speakers. That's the biggest one available. Now the interior overview. Of course, everything styled to feature this new infotainment system. But first of all, soft touch here at the top of the dashboard. Also interesting, those design elements. And again, then this aluminum brush style. I think it looks pretty good, pretty premium, and also reduces the amount of black piano lacquer being used, like here at the at the housings. And it starts already with a 10.25-inch screen on the left for the virtual cockpit. Yet again, some markets will get a base version where there's no GPS map possible, like we see here. Germany and also other markets will feature this software version where it's also possible, but the size will also be the same, and you can always go for that on optional. But again, some markets will have this one as standard already. Then on the right side, you start with the 8.25-inch, so a smaller screen. That then would have a manual volume knob still, and also here another tune knob on the right. if you fancy that. This one is the optional 10-inch screen, so the biggest one they have. And this one then is featuring the volume here, like with the slider or clicking. And the same goes also for the temperature, and this will always be the case. So even if you go for the smaller one, you have to slide or click the temperature. No manual climate dials anymore. And that's a thing, I don't know. Maybe I'm a little bit too conservative as for that, but I think while driving it's more practical to use that. Unless you go 22 degrees Celsius and AC auto all the time, then it doesn't make too much of a difference. Soon more deals to those screens. Again, a perspective of the steering wheel looks again quite cool. Heated steering wheel is also available. This function is also integrated in this car here. You can change the view of this digital instrument right there. So we also go in depth on that. Then here you see that the unit for the vents goes all the way through. Interesting design element. Here's some hotkeys for accessing the climate menu, for example, or the driving modes. In this case, the DCC, dynamic chassis control. Assistance systems, you can activate some of those, for example, or check some status. And then in the lower part, you have two USB-C devices. There's an adapter plugged in here at the moment. And below that, there's, definitely ample of space for your smartphone, and also inductive charging pad, because wireless CarPlay is available. Android Auto you still have to plug in. And then further down below, this is the new DSC shifting lever, small shift by wire. So going from reverse to D, that goes really fast then, for example. And start stop engine button is here, so it looks a little bit different when you have DSG, and it's really space saving, definitely. Some spot to put your key right there. And this virtual cockpit, you can change the views. If you hold the view button, you can also put it all the way, just the map. That's cool for navigating. Other than that, you also have some assistance system view. You also have some rather classic gauges view, for example. Then you can also change, what's on the inside. So you're pretty flexible with that. That's actually the cool thing. But I think the GPS map integration is probably the most important one. Optional head-up display, it's I think also good invest here with the speed, allowed speed, assistance system info, and if you have set the GPS route, you also get some arrows and there's some information in your line of sight. So this is the home menu. You can also change the color, by the way. You can go up and down, for example. And also here to the right side, and you have this home menu where you can also individualize a little bit more. For example, here also then the hotkey to the Apple CarPlay. This is how the integration works, and it's also wireless at the moment. And let's also just play some and listen to this music system. 10-speaker Harman Kardon system. Wow, this is really cool. For a compact vehicle, this is a great sound, great surround sound. Awesome. Really like that. So that would be one of the coast-worthy options I would probably go for. Yet again, main menu right here. So Android Auto will be possible with the cable. This is the GPS then. See here, also quite responsive. All those clicking sounds, I will probably deactivate them because they, annoy you a little bit. Overall, I think it could be a little bit more intuitive, the whole system. Here you can activate the seat heating, for example. Then you can change temperature here. But again, otherwise, here with the audio and here with the, and here then with the temperature saving, either swiping or clicking right here. Not a fan of that. Are you? Please tell me in comments. Or if I'm, too conservative for that. I don't know. So, and go back to the home menu once again. You can also connect your phone just normally with Bluetooth. It would also be possible. And in vehicle, you would have some other settings here for both for exterior and interior with nice visualization. Here, if you want to change, for example, something with the headlights, dynamic light assist, and so on. Yeah, that's the one, you can buy afterwards if you haven't bought it before, for example. So, offers a lot of different functions here. But again, I think it could be a little bit more intuitive. I don't know. What's your take on this one? It looks a little bit old school-ish, Again, talking about on a very high level, you can do everything with it. It has everything you need. But I'm not the biggest fan of it, at least not now the first time. And one more thing I want to show. Here in DCC, adaptive suspension, sport mode will be a little bit stiffer and so on. Yeah, that's what I meant. Like you take back your finger and then you hit something of that. I'm not sure. But here, what I want to show you is, again, DCC, Then here this I individual, and here you can actually then fine-tune the DCC. So it's not only that you have 3 or 4 settings anymore, you really have so many different settings where you can find your personal setting on how sporty or comfortable you want to have your adaptive suspension. That's pretty nice. And last but not least, also with the rear view camera, let's turn on the engine and then put the reverse camera, and it's a very good resolution right there, also with those helping lines and with a view this time to the city of Porto. And you can use the new free speech voice control activated at the button at the steering wheel, or say, "Hello Volkswagen.
How can I help?
Please drive me to Lisbon." So that takes a while.
Please say the address or the line number.
So then we could navigate to Lisboa. Other possibility would also be, and then don't repeat it, I now press the button. "I'm cold."
No problem. It will get warmer at the front left shortly.
So then the temperature is being increased. So yeah, also nice new functions. So this middle area right there is quite open. It also fits for really large bottles right here with those rubber pads. And then here you can, it's an old mechanism for smaller bottles. You can use this one here to make it adaptive, or you can remove it again for, whatever. Then this one here, 12-volt power supply, but this cover here, I don't know, it's a little bit cheaply done. But other than that, great build quality. Once again, also here how well attached, for example, this armrest is. You can slide it forward or backward like this. Nice fabric cover with contrast stitches. And then when you put it open like this, some more space below. So before we move to the rear with the legroom test, 2 more things in the front. Headroom in the front with 1.86 or 6'1", plenty left. And there is also panoramic roof available if you want to check that one out. There's a studio episode here with the Golf 8 at Autogefuehl where we have one car with a panoramic roof. That's very interesting. And then a comfort feature is when I turn off the ignition with the electric seats and open the door, then the seat goes backward for easier entry, getting in and out. I close the door and hit the start-stop engine button, then it moves to the front. Of course, now I leave this seat in the front position to test the rear legroom. So what about this rear legroom? And today I really need the shoe tap to keep the car somewhat clean, at least. And I mean, legroom is not super plentiful, but it's okay. It's a compact vehicle. It's not changed as before. It always depends on how you have the seat. There are interesting seat pockets here, new ones. And those Ergo Active seats, you see, they're quite thick, so they reduce somewhat the legroom. I think I haven't seen the base fabric seats yet, but I think they should be a little bit slimmer than for the rear legroom. And it always depends in which mood you are, if you have the seat a little bit more backward or forward. But 4 adults can drive in this car. This is no problem. Especially headroom-wise, this is no problem at all. And it's also actually decently comfortable, but hard pack material at the inside of the doors. Yeah, it's not a cheap car, and I know if you think about hydraulic struts and this, maybe you save like €2 or I don't know per part, and then you think about, oh, this car will be sold again like 2 million times. That's a lot of money. But then again, maybe there are some people that say, I will not buy this car because it doesn't have hydraulic struts. It doesn't make logical sense, and it also doesn't make logical sense that you say, yeah, I care so much about, soft touch at the inside of the doors, so I don't buy the car. But car buying is not only about something making sense. And I think people of a Golf 8 customers, actually, they should get hydraulic struts and also soft touch at the inside of the doors. That's what I think. What do you think? Then, well, I mean, there's nice fabric here, and also this great Alcantara quilted surface, also for the rear seats. You see, they have somewhat of a single seat setup. I think that's okay because it makes the seats here on the outside more comfortable. Isofix on the outside, by the way. In the middle, you can get the 3-zone AC right there, also with heated seats for the rear seats now. That's fancy. But sitting in this middle seat is, yeah. I mean, it's a fabric surface, so it's not too hard, but it works, for shorter ways, it definitely works, but definitely more focused on the outside parts each. Then you have this armrest here with cup holders, but not adaptive, and you can also use this one here as a ski hatch to fold it like this and to access the trunk, and of course then to load things through. Other than that, you do flip the seats from here already, here and also on the other side in the 2/3, 1/3 split. And a little bit hidden under the climate control, you can get 2 more USB-C chargers for the rear passengers. Yeah, it is windy today. So let's open the hatch, and this typical logo flipping function right there. And here we go with the standard trunk, and we've put some suitcase in here, vertical and horizontal, that you can see that all fits indeed. This is, the luggage capacity you do have. And I think that's, pretty much standard here, definitely for this very segment. Square dimensions, I think that's actually quite good. And then let's also give you a clean perspective right here. Underneath, you have some more storage space. Also, if you want a replacement tire. Other than that, I've already flipped one side. You have to do it from the rear. And so we can give you some measurements. The length, normal length is about 75 centimeters in length. And the width is about 1 meter. And the height below the cover is about 40 centimeters. And here to the total height, it's just a little bit less than 70 centimeters. And if we take the full length, full HD, full screen, full length, and then to the, for example, co-driver seat at the moment, this one is a little bit more than 1 meters and 50. And you have to go around then to the other door, that we can also flip that one around to give you also full length at this side. Welcome to Thomas' Driving Lounge here with the all-new Volkswagen Golf 8. So this newest generation, and we'll directly start you with the blind spot monitor. You saw this yellow light flashing, one of the safety systems. The front assist, the autonomous emergency brake is standard equipment. However, then there's different steps of upgrading those assistance systems, and the travel assist package is the most elaborate one. And then you also get some of the new features. For example, as standard, the new Golf does not have the capacitive steering wheel, but when you have the travel assist package with the most elaborate, ACC and also the, lane keeping. Here, this is an active lane keeping. See, but leave your hands in the steering wheel. This is just demonstration purposes. Professional driver, do not attempt. Warning. But you see that it actually worked. But it's not meant to take your hands off the steering wheel, but it works very well and also pretty smooth. And the thing is that when you're running straight all the time, we had a couple of times in different cars that those systems were thinking, oh, the driver has let off of the steering wheel. It's not the case here. So when you have the travel assist package, the most elaborate function then for all the assistance systems, then you have this capacitive steering wheel included, like in the new Passat facelift, for example. And that means that the car realizes that you have your hands on the steering wheel, not that you do something, but that you just hold on. There's, it's basically inbuilt which measures that. And that's, of course, a really good function, that you don't have those false positives, that the car really knows that you still have your hands at the steering wheel. So that's actually pretty good. Then we also have the adaptive cruise control, which now in the highest trim again works also predictive. So when the car knows map data wise, there will be reduction in speed, there will be a roundabout coming and so on, then it's already reducing the speed. And that can also help to bring fuel consumption down. So that's also pretty relevant as for that. And well, one of the main things with the new Golf generation is always like, does it still feel like a Golf? Yes, it definitely does. It still feels like a Golf in a basic way, but it does feel more elaborate. I mean, you had a digital cockpit before. I also like that, actually. I really have to say I did like the graphics of the old active info display or virtual cockpit. I liked it a little bit more, to be honest, But that's maybe a matter of taste or something. And as I said earlier, that's also a very important aspect, therefore I repeat that. If you go with the smaller screen on the right, you would still have the knob here on the right side, probably also to zoom in and out on the map, and also the volume knob. And I actually would tell you, go for the smaller infotainment screen. it's easier to have the volume knob left, and you even save some money. And you already have the voice input and also the Apple CarPlay or Android Auto connection. So yeah, why not? At the moment I've mounted the maps in both screens actually, so that's also again something, you know, cool, surely, why not again? And you know, we are already here on the motorway, and one of the things that the Golf always does best is that it's one of the most silent in its segment and one of the most elaborate ones, giving you the best comfort. We have the optional DCC, dynamic chassis control, I think left, yeah, dynamic chassis control inbuilt here. That means that the adaptive suspension, and it's doing a great job really to keeping this comfort. I'm in the comfort mode at the moment, and it is very comfortable but somewhat sporty at the same time, and just delivering us a very good compromise. We can also change the driving modes. For example, if I go to the sports mode, then the gears are turned up higher, we go a gear lower, the suspension is a little bit stiff, I immediately feel it on the road. And you can also now individualize that, so you know, just set different parameters and you know, just do a little bit more. But usually while driving you just leave it with those presets. And in the eco mode, the other new thing is being stressed here, again, blind spot monitor. This MHEV system, you know, when you have the DSG, this 1.5 and also some other versions automatically come with as mild hybrid system, so there's like a bigger battery, and then there's more recuperation and also more of this sailing or coasting function. And this can help again to bring the fuel consumption down. For example, at some point the engine then shuts off, and let's see if we can also induce that. I see the RPMs, for example, and I leave the throttle. When the car still rolls, it always depends on certain parameters, you know. So it's hard to induce that for real, but what it's meant to do is that you have situations where you leave the throttle and you're rolling, and then the engine shuts down and the car is just rolling or coasting or sailing, depending on how you want to call it. And this is stressed, for example, in the eco mode. And let's see. Yeah, there it is. So there, RPMs drop to 0. Not sure if you can see it on camera, but I really try to induce that now. And in this rolling, the engine doesn't consume any fuel, so this can really help once again. And this MHEV system really boosts that. It's not possible to offer that one with a manual gearbox yet. Only possible with the auto gearbox. Here, the DSG, of course, as we used to add dual clutch transmission. And I mean, having those very small shifting levers here, it's actually quite refreshing while driving. Now, I was skeptical at first, but it lights up the interior even more. It brings more space also while driving here in the middle console area. So I have to say I really like that, And again, good noise insulation. We had about 100 kilometers or 60 miles now on the motorway. That was pretty cool. It's just so silent and refined, this very silent and refined ride, noise insulation wise, steering input wise, there's no dead zone, and also from suspension where you have comfort, but at the same time also sportiness. Yeah, Holger's a little bit worried that I forget to brake while I'm talking to you guys. If you've seen this, I'm not sure if you've seen his finger. He's like, watch out! But, I also have, should I play like a Volkswagen marketing representative now? I would say, I also have a very clever car because the car is able to brake its, not brake down, but brake itself, like emergency brakes. So if I would not be careful, you should not to test that, don't ever test that. We have together with the manufacturers sometimes testings where they drive like a rolling balloon in front of the car, and then you can test those emergency brake assistance. So the car would brake on its own, but I will never really test that, on real traffic situations here. But it's good to have the safety net, but definitely pay attention yourself. And when you have the ACC, the adaptive cruise control, running with the DSG, it also stops until 0. The thing is just when you have the manual gearbox, at some point the engine would stall or would be stalled, and that's not the best combination then. So the best combination is definitely the auto gearbox together then with the adaptive cruise control, and then you're good to go as for traffic situations and so on. And I also picked the DSG gearbox for today because then we have this ACC combination, and also the MHEV combination, the mild hybrid system, because that's really the new thing. And they also changed something hardware-wise on the 1.5 TSI. Also like from the cycle, how the engine is running, and so far I have to say that seems to work pretty well. So we're about 5 liters and 1 kilometers fuel economy, so even 4.9 at the moment. Of course, I have been driving, very carefully so far, but that's also what I wanted to do. And the Golf, not in the GTI, not in the R, not in the GTD, not in the GTE, so normal Golf is also a car where it's also about fuel economy, and people are not racing all the time and just driving it, in a commuting way to work. That's also why I want, I always want to give you situations which are closest to you as a car customer as well. And I have to say, fuel economy wise, this is really well done and unusual from Volkswagen Corporation cars. So far, we have always been criticizing them for too high fuel consumption, and that seems to be really better with this new 1.5 MHEV now, and also with the hardware changes they actually did. So pretty good, and the fuel economy even drops further down. So that's actually quite good. Usually, like those fuel economy figures, we just reach with like true hybrids, like with those Toyota inbuilt hybrids, which have a little bit bigger battery. But here, obviously, also possible now with the upgrades. So that is also one of the crucial changes, definitely. And the whole feeling in the car is also, let's say, somewhat different than in the predecessor, because you have those additional window here, and the dimension did not really change, but in the interior you feel as you would be driving a little bit bigger car. Maybe it's also because of the seat, yes, but then again, the cockpit is maybe a little bit, not sure if it's really the case, but you have the feeling, subjective feeling, that you would drive like half a segment higher, just from how the cockpit is, built up. Also, like with this, additional window in there in the front. So that's also to me a very interesting finding. And again, sporty-wise, good control, steering wheel, progressive input. You don't have to steer so much. You can leave your hands at the steering wheel all the time. That's also what I really, really like. So you have like one of these standard cars, but already have a very sporty car which you can have fun with. And you don't have to have a GTI. Even here, this normal Golf 1.5 TSI, yes, it has already a lot of extra equipment. So it will not be a cheap car at all. But still, you can have fun with a non-sporty version of this vehicle, and that's also something which always speaks for the car, definitely. Driving around town of Porto, by the way. So again, I always know, when we are in Portugal, we have a lot of Portuguese fans, and they're really, they seem to be enjoying most when we are testing the cars in their country. Not sure why is that, but I found it very cool when I got a lot of those comments. So best greetings and obrigado again to all our Portuguese viewers here today, especially, and of course to everyone else as well. And so far, we had some, I think I have to go left here now, some interesting situations on the motorway, definitely, and now left again here, yeah, it's a little bit tricky here on those Portuguese roads. So again, next roundabout, and when you're driving in Southern Europe, you just enter a roundabout, and people are okay with that. Told you that earlier in another review. When you are entering a roundabout in Germany, yeah, that's always a problem. So people can get angry quite a lot when you just enter a normal roundabout. And now I finally made it to do a routing mistake, I think. Maybe I should put it back here on the driver's display again, but then I can drive right on the lower end. Or maybe I was wrong. No, I think I was wrong. But of course, it's also something good to find out. Yeah, I have to admit that the infotainment system and so on, as I told you earlier in the interior part, it is something you have to learn first. It's not the most intuitive system by any means. So not too keen on the software they have put in here. The software they had before, like also in the normal Golf and so on, to me they were a little bit easier to learn and also to command, definitely. But one of the best things, once again, about the Golf is that it feels so refined in so many levels, and it's such a calming driving experience once again. And I have the feeling it's even a little bit calmer than before. It's not that you should throw away your Golf 7, you know. So the Golf 7 is has been already a very great and refined car. We know there are some tweaks here and there. You could also argue, and again, maybe the Golf 7 was a little bit more straightforward. There's new technology in here, but then again, you can also use a little bit more technology. By the way, power-wise here, when I'm going uphill now, just a little on the throttle, the turbo of the 1.5 sets in, so power-wise, you also won't miss anything with the 1.5. That might be an issue with the 1-liter 3-cylinder engine. Maybe we'll be able to test that one at the later stage. I hope so. Like, you know, a couple of weeks or month or something with a different driving event or test vehicle. But I can tell you here the 1.5 is actually a good pick for this vehicle. It has enough power. Like in the older vehicles, they had some issues like with stuttering when you approach a traffic light or something. There has been a software upgrade also for existing cars for that, and they promised that it's actually then solved this problem. Here so far I had no problems with that. And again, this, whoa, yeah, that's Autogefuehl live on tape, ghost drivers. Yeah. Okay, yeah, back to the review. We're live still. So, yeah, no stuttering effect here. And again, abundance of power left. Also, right sizing for this car, I think it might make sense still to go for a 4-cylinder with the Golf, definitely. I think so. And again, a very good fuel economy also is not changing when we're driving here in the city. And if you want to drive a little bit sporty, you can always use the shifting pedals here also at the steering wheel. So even if you are in a normal mode or so, you can then use those. I think we have to go here. Yeah, that was right. Head-up display, also everything in my line of sight. Here, for example, now head-up display tells me I don't have to watch to the screens, that I have to get actually straight out of this roundabout. So head-up display could be a very good option. Of course, you have to think about, you know, what's really worth it. Which options do I go for? Being entry price, for example, in Germany, below 20k, so below 20,000 euros. But then, you know, also the predecessor, you could easily top up to 40k as for, you know, a high line trim Golf or something. This one here, the style line. So always pay attention to what extras are you actually going for. But head-up display is something that is really, you know, contributing to safety. It's also very crisp to drive, you know, crisp to see while driving. So that's also good. So yeah, I think from driving I can really conclude it is still a Golf, yes. It's not that it would be a completely different car. It feels maybe a little bit more elaborate, even a little bit more silent. Fuel economy is better. That's, to me, probably one of the, you know, the best changes. Yeah, and then of course, you know, the stuff we told you in the interior, the infotainment, this is a major upgrade. And I also really like those new seats. So that could also, you know, contribute to this decision. Passenger comment? New Golf versus old Golf, Holger?
It's comfortable with the seats. That's clear.
Yeah, so seat difference, yeah. Anything else?
And I love this new cockpit, this digital cockpit.
Oh, so Holger is a fan of the new digital cockpit. He's like, you know, he's like this tech gadget play guy, you know. I'm something like, oh, maybe like a, and it's interesting, you know, like he's the older one, I'm the younger one, but like it's a little bit the opposite. I'm like, yeah, maybe I want to like have like a separate climate knob or something. And Holger's like, oh, this new tech, that's actually fancy. That's interesting. So you know, what's your take on that? So would be looking forward to that. Definitely very interesting. Yeah. Actually, you know, one of the things I'm most astonished is that the engine feels, you know, so refined. It feels like it would be a bigger engine, and that could also be the boost from the MF system. I recently also experienced that, for example, in the Mercedes GLC, where I was expecting fuel savings. That did not happen in the GLC with the new MF system, but like the boost, you know, 0.3 seconds faster in the acceleration on 100 kilometers for the GLC with the MF changes. So it depends on how they set it up. If the MF system is more contributing to less, less fuel consumption or more power. It's supposed to do both, of course, but what it's doing in real life, that definitely always depends, Yeah, but definitely, once again, we can say the Golf is setting a benchmark in this segment. And, that's also why people say, that is better than in a Golf, or this that is worse than in a Golf, because this one here, at least in Europe, sets the benchmark, and then you can compare other cars as for that, without being like the best or most Golf fan ever. You can really say that because they have the most budget of all car manufacturers for this very car. Of course, we've seen hardback at the rear doors, no hydraulic struts. We've seen that at some point they also do cost savings just to bring the profits up again. But yet again, this is still a car. It's not like Audi, BMW, Mercedes, or even worse Porsche, where they have massive margins on the car. I mean, of course, they're earning money with the car, but the typical Volkswagen has an 800 euros margin per car or something, win margin, whereas Audi, BMW, Mercedes have 4-digit win margins, 1,000, 500,000, 800 per car, and Porsche, the only manufacturer worldwide with 5-digit profit margins on the car. So you pay 18,000 euros for the Porsche badge just for their profit. You just have to know that, If you can afford that, that's fine. Everyone, it's a free world to buy any car, But interesting that you think, or that you at least know, it's not a cheap car here at all. It's not a Volkswagen, not for people's car, for everyone, because it's already very, very expensive in high trim. But it's not a customer ripoff as for the price-performance ratio, because even though it's not cheap, the price-performance of a Golf is still, in a very, very good region. And now we have one more view here to the sea for you, and also those cobblestones here on the ground. And even that, the DCC is doing very, very good. And here also it's a free dead road, some slalom on the cobblestones, and it's mastering that very well. And you see here how direct the steering is transporting everything. So that's really cool, like that. Holger's still alive? Yeah, and those seats really, keep us also, where we should be.
Good side support.
Yeah, good side support, and also, with the Alcantara surface. So that's again, speaking for those seats. And yeah, I think very interesting driving impressions here for today. I mean, there's a cobblestone background, but this is a free parking lot here. So what we can do once more is giving you some acceleration. So we're hurting no one here. Here, for example, just in the sport mode. Yeah, maybe we can even rev it up before just a little bit. Plop, that was 70 kilometers an hour. You maybe heard I was really pushing it, and front wheel drive only this car, of course. And well, do I smell some clutch? Yeah, I do smell some clutch. And of course, on the cobblestones with little sand, there was not so much grip. But still, that was also a good test. And actually, just that you show, to see something of the acceleration that this engine is capable of. And you don't always have to test it in very, the best conditions. It's always interesting to see that also how it works when, conditions are a little bit harder on the car. And here we are with our conclusion for today with the all-new Golf 8. Well, yes, it's still a Golf and still has a lot of those features what, making it famous. Of course, the rich door closing sound, for example, and also this very, very refined ride, so good in the noise insulation. Now even more comfort, especially with those optional seats we have here. So overall, even a little bit more refined, especially in the driving feeling. And to me, one of the best changes was also that we could really score a very decent fuel economy here today with this 1.5 TSI with the new MHEV function with about 5 liters on 100 kilometers. Well, what else? Design-wise, you can always argue about that. If the MK7 or the MK8 is more beautiful to you. That's just, I think, matter of preference, but it's not too much changes after all. The interior, of course, that has changed with all those new digital stuff. Digital cockpit is standard now. Then those 2 new infotainment systems in the middle part. I would actually go with the smaller one because you still have volume knob, but that's also a matter of preference. The software could be a little bit more straightforward. I hope maybe they give an update at a later stage that is a little bit more intuitive to use. So you have to learn it a little bit, but then I think you can also get along with it. The space that is offered on the interior, still the same as before. Here, 2 small things about the hydraulic struts and also about the hard pack materials at the rear doors from the inside. Those are 2 cost savings, I thought. Everything else is actually now top-notch as we used to. And again, you also get some more new features than for this new Golf generation. So a lot of very interesting impressions here for you today. We will keep you updated with all of the different variations and iterations that are coming for this new Golf generation, different engines and so on, different trims. And I hope also to see you right there. And if you're interested in the Volkswagen ID.3, which will take over the electric counterpart because the e-Golf is no more, then also tune into that review. So, see you there. See you anywhere else with our reviews. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Bye.